Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:02. Apologies for the brief delayed start, but at 3:02 p.m. we will call to order the September regular meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections and Registration. With that being the case, I invite all those willing and able to rise with me to say our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. I anticipate that there might be a few amendments. So with that, has everyone had an opportunity to review the proposed agenda? And if there are any proposed amendments, please share that now.
I would like to motion to add an agenda item. I have a proposed resolution that I would like for board discussion and possible vote.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Everett, for that proposed amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bruning. It's been moved and properly seconded to add an agenda item, that being a proposed resolution. Is there discussion? I know I have one point I'd like to make, but per usual, I always defer to everybody else on the board before I make any comments.
Nope.
Okay. The comment that I would like to make, and it's more of a personal request. Obviously, as you all know, that I was traveling out of the country. I made my way back. I did not have access to the internet. That was on Delta, not on me. And then I had to show up for jury duty this morning. So all that being said, I do have some proposed revisions to that resolution. One, first and foremost, putting it in the format of a resolution, and I would like to defer this vote, if possible, to our special called meeting, which has already been scheduled for September 30th to take up additional items. So.
Do you accept that?
I'd still like to vote to add it today, and then we can see where we go with that.
Okay, absolutely. If there's no further discussion, happy to move forward with a vote. All those in favor of adding the resolution for today? All those opposed? The motion passes 3-2, noting that myself and Ms. Fisher are not in favor of adding the agenda item. So the agenda item will be added at the conclusion of new business.
Nice to meet you. Yes, sir, thank you. And Chris, no, I think.
Can we mute I believe I hear folks' noise from those online. Did you hear that as well, or was that just me? Okay. Is everyone muted that's on the WebEx?
I think you got it.
Okay, perfect, thank you. The next item,
I have amendments that
yeah, I had one as well, but go right ahead.
oh, no, you can go first.
Well, I note that there is the amended and restated bylaws. These have been hanging out on our agenda since our board retreat that we had to cut short. I have heard the concern about investing time on the amended and restated bylaws, especially in light of the fact that we're less than 60 days away from the election or election day. So I am happy to propose that this item be tabled until after the November meeting, such that we would take this up in December. So I'm happy to remove this item, tabling it, and take it up after the election. Yes.
Can I just suggest maybe we just leave it on there and then we get a motion to table on
Motion to table?
during
Okay.
during that.
When we get to it on the agenda? Okay, perfect. Just want to be certain that I'm obviously addressing concerns as they've been raised with me.
So for the record, am I removing that motion? Like, are you undoing it, or do we just?
It was never seconded, so there's no need to undo it.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Fisher?
Yes, I would like to add the reconsideration of the policy in which we're charging voter roll challenges based on the law that I've sent 3 times, and I think it's worthy of a discussion and a vote.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to amend the agenda to add reconsideration of a provision that was approved as part of our voter challenge policies and procedures. Is there a second to amend the agenda to add this item? The motion fails for want of a second. Okay. Any further proposed amendments to the agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the, pardon?
There was one that I mentioned that we
Yes,
need
sir.
to add
That's correct.
prior. There are 2 challenges under 21-230 that need to have a probable cause determination today. That was pointed out in some emails, but with everybody traveling and exchanging emails, and there are lots of emails flying back and forth, and that
There
did
are.
not get added. But today's not a public hearing, it's just a probable cause determination.
Okay.
And that's for challenges submitted on August 26th
And
and
the
August
28th.
28th.
Okay. So just to be certain, Mr. White, is that motion coming from you? It
I don't
needs to
make-
come from a
I'm-
member of the board,
I'm
correct?
recommending that the board, in order to comply with Georgia law and with the policies, add that motion. That's just a recommendation.
Okay, understood.
So moved.
Thank you for making my job easier. The motion has been made to add an agenda item that, for a probable cause determination related to Section 230 challenges as were submitted on the 26th and the 28th of August by Eugene Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bruning. It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, entertain the vote. All of those in favor?
Can I just say really quick?
Yes,
I think
sir.
for the record, it's the 29th. It was resubmitted. The 28th was then resubmitted on the 29th. I don't know if you want that for the record to be the proper.
I do, that's, again, as we're saying, there's lots of emails flying on all of
Yes.
these. I think there was
Just
a,
for the record, it's the 26th and the 29th.
Perfect, got it. I do recall that now. Thank you, Ms. Mossbacher, and definitely will want that correct for the record as well as the minutes. That being the case, we are in the middle of voting. All of those in favor, no, we're all good. All of those in favor of amending the agenda to add the probable cause determination, which is not a hearing, a determination with regard to Section 230 challenges submitted on the 26th and the 29th of August. All those in favor, yes? The motion passes unanimously. I believe that covers everything. So I will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended, such that to new business, the resolution as proposed by Ms. Effret, as well as the probable cause determination as required by Georgia law, will be added as a part of new business. So that's, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those modifications.
So moved.
Yes.
just so we can keep it clear, I think we've added the items, and I think as chair, you can put them in new business without a motion. So let's just do that.
Okay.
One last motion.
Certainly.
All right.
All right, well, I am going to place those items in new business such that they will be the final 2 items in new business. Thank you, Mr. White. Per usual, I'm always attempting to be equitable and letting everybody be heard.
Yes, thank you.
That being the case, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended as I just described. All those in favor? The motion passes unanimously. Great, got through that. The motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and your consideration. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is our public comment. Per usual, or what's becoming usual, we have a full house. And I want to note one thing. Mr. Eugene Williams, he is here in the room with us. He initially signed up to participate virtually, and that was our intent was to have him participate virtually. Unfortunately, he is unable or did not receive the link, so he will participate here, but will use a virtual slot. It's just what it is at this point. However, I will note therefore that there will be 13 individuals, although there are generally 12. 12 that participate virtually, 12 that participate here in the room with us. Because I removed him upon his agreement to continue to participate virtually, but he is unable to do so. I do not believe it to be equitable to remove the last person that signed up in person. So there will be 13 individuals that will participate here in the BOC room. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. As we did at the most recent meeting, we will alternate. One person in person, one person virtually, until we work ourselves through the 24 individuals that will be speaking.
Is this a 3-minute?
Pardon?
3 minutes?
Yes. That, I was going to call for a motion in light of that, as that was how we handled this at the last meeting. So it is noted on the sign-up sheet that we reserve the right, the board reserves the right to reduce the standard 5 minutes to a time that is shorter. So at this point, I will entertain a motion with respect to that. Modification of the time. Yes, sir.
I move that we set the time limit at 3 minutes per person.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bruning. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded to set the time limit for public comment today to be 3 minutes per person. All of those in favor? The motion passes unanimously. So again, for everyone here with us, as well as those that are participating virtually, you will have 3 minutes. And I know we have a timer on it, and I will thank everyone in advance for being respectful of that time. With that, we will start with Miss Gloria Keegan. She should be here with us. Good afternoon, Miss Keegan.
Good afternoon. And good afternoon to everyone else here. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. Again, my name is Gloria Keegan. I live in Cobb County, and particularly in Smyrna. I am here to discuss serious concerns that I have related to the State Election Board's election certification process. During the COVID pandemic, I was a volunteer poll watcher. When I started, I didn't know what to expect, but what I saw was heartwarming. Each and every poll worker was professional, thorough, and dedicated to making sure every person who came to vote, regardless of party, was welcomed, had the opportunity to learn about the voting machines, had the proper credentials, and I had nothing to report regarding improper voting or harassment. Fellow poll watchers across the state reported the same. I say this because I know that there are intelligent, honest, dedicated people who work on our polls and who, many of whom are volunteers, but some whom are paid. So my question is, why is our state election board pursuing certification rule changes? These rule changes are redundant, will undoubtedly create chaos and waste taxpayers' hard-earned money. And we all know that these rules serve no purpose but to delay and disrupt the election process. The state of Georgia already has very clear election laws. Those laws state that a county must count and certify election returns by 5 p.m. on the Monday following the election. Since this is explicit Georgia law, it would seem that anyone who refuses to follow this law is making up their own rules, confusing everyone, and breaking the law. There is already a process in place to address any discrepancies or concerns about election results, and that happens in the courtroom, not in a boardroom. I strongly urge the State Election Board to fulfill their duty by complying with Georgia election law and certifying the election results this November. Georgia is being watched, not only by Georgia citizens, but state citizens and also citizens of the world. I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Keegan. Next up, Mr. Williams, and as previously noted, he is here in the room, boardroom with us. Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon. My name is Eugene Williams, and I'd like to comment on the challenge hearing that was held on Saturday, August the 3rd. You know, I really believe one of the most important things that you all owed me that day, and really the citizens of Cobb County, was to conduct a fair and honest hearing. And I don't believe that, quite frankly, that you all conducted really any manner of a fair and honest hearing. And let me explain why I feel that way. It's not just sour grapes. First off, you refused to follow the Georgia Code guidelines for 229 challenges. The code clearly grants me the right to challenge anyone on the Cobb County voter rolls, regardless of their voter status. You are required to hear those challenges and send out written notice to everyone on that list. And I would estimate if you'd done the work you were required to do, that we probably would have received back written notice for approximately 10% of those inactive status voters, which would equal up to about 236 individuals, requesting that you please remove them from the Cobb County voter rolls because they simply no longer live here in Cobb County. Bottom line, you're interfering unlawfully in the challenge process as provided by the Georgia legislature with that misguided policy of yours. And another issue that really bothered me, and it still bothers me to this day, was the underhanded way that you handled the 88 active status challenges that you just automatically dismissed for the totally nonsensical and ridiculous reason that they would be going to an inactive status on the following Monday. Your reasoning made completely no sense, as the challenge hearing was held on a date prior to when they would be going to the inactive status. I was there to have them remove that day, the day of the hearing. And to think that you all are supposedly a professional board of elections for Cobb County, and you provided an infantile, bogus reason such as that one, it's just really sad to see how dishonest you all acted that day. And I've been watching this type of behavior of yours for years now, and it's really a total disservice to the legitimate voters here in Cobb County, as we're the ones that are actually being disenfranchised. And you know, I'm still waiting to get my promised summary report for the hearing, which would inform me specifically of your reasoning for not removing persons on my challenge list. You know, I think you're likely stumbling over trying to how to find the words to somehow make it sound somewhat legitimate, and why you did not do any type of valid hearing on those 88 individuals. And I'm wishing you good luck on that, as it's going to take some really good creative writing on your part to justify your behavior that day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next up is Titus Nichols.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Titus Nichols. I'm a resident here in Cobb County, and I'm also an attorney. I'm here to address the rule in regards to Georgia State Election Board, the rule change. As this board is aware, under the current law, OCGA 21-2-493I is an igloo, or just the statute itself, it lays out what the Georgia law currently is in regards to certifying election results. The deadline is set for the Monday following the election. This new rule does not trump or overturn the law. In fact, this new rule creates chaos, and it could expose the board to legal liability because it changes the language within the statute. The statute says that the superintendent is to specifically compute the votes and certify the votes justly. The rule takes away the word certify and just says compute justly. It creates a situation where the board has to engage in some type of investigation without any explanation where the boards get the resources, the staff, or the additional resources necessary to conduct such an investigation. More importantly, the law states that if there is some type of error or fraud, that is to be, the results are to be certified, and then a report is given to the district attorney. It does not say that there is to be any type of delay in certifying those results that Monday at 5 p.m. And so, when faced with a choice between following the law and following a mere rule, as a citizen of Cobb County, I would ask this board follow the law as is currently written. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Next up is Donna Court. She is online with us, and Donna Court. And I did note the message that you shared with regard to the video signal not being there. So Ms. Court, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And just to be certain, you are aware that the time frame that's permitted or allotted for speakers today is 3 minutes. So you may start
yes.
when you're ready.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'll be brief. My name is Donna Court, and I am a citizen in Cobb County, zip code number 30068. And I am here today to speak about the topic of supporting you all, the Board of Elections, Chair Silas, all the board members, and Director Fall and staff. The addition of the November 8th, 2024 pre-certification meeting that is to be added, I want to thank you for scheduling this meeting because it reassures all of us voters that the board will comply with the law. To reiterate what some of my fellow citizens have said, the great state of Georgia's laws are clear and unequivocal. They do state that the county shall tabulate and certify the election returns. And this is to be no later than 5 p.m. the Monday after the election. Again, as previously stated, it is a legal duty and it is mandatory, and it gives no choice to refuse to certify the election returns. As my colleague, the attorney, just stated, the Georgia election state laws do provide the process to resolve cases if there should be any discrepancies in these totals. And in all these cases, those instances must be resolved in the courts. Again, I just want to thank you all for giving us the confidence. And I do have confidence, as another colleague said, because I too have been a poll watcher, a monitor, and a poll worker. And I know that you believe our votes do matter. Thank you as always for all your hard work, and have a lovely, safe day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ms. Court. Next up in the VOC room is Mike Benz.
Thank you. My name's Mike Benz. I'm a 20-year Cobb resident and voter. I want to thank the board members, Madam Chair, Attorney White, Director Fall, and all the concerned citizens who have taken time out of their day to be here. Some will take their turn to speak and express a variety of viewpoints on the purpose of this board, how Cobb elections should be conducted, and how election outcomes are determined. You will hear from some who argue for the rule of law and establish legal precedents established to maintain the orderly function of this board and elections. I will not address the last state election board rule changes violating those laws and precedents that will predictably lead to poll worker and staff exhaustion, almost certainly increasing the risk of errors. This predictable planned chaos will create the grounds for election results challenges. We will hear from its creators the cynical explanation, quote, "See, we told you the system didn't work." So, I believe that the vast majority of people in this room and our community support and trust the Cobb Board of Elections as long as the rule of law is maintained. There will be those who will say that they do not trust you because they don't feel or believe in the rule of law when it contradicts their feelings and beliefs. I urge you to validate those feelings, but to stand with the rules of order and law established over decades, if not centuries, to promote safe, rational public discourse. I urge you to make decisions and actions based on facts, not feelings or conspiracy-laced beliefs for which there is no evidence. Thanks to the board and to the members of the community who continue to work unceasingly for free, fair, and safe elections in these extraordinarily difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Next up is Monica Wills-Brown. She should be online with us. Monica Wills-Brown. Ms. Brown, can you hear me?
I can. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Madam Chair and the Cobb County Elections Board members. My name is Monica Wills-Brown, and I'm the Chief Organizer with the Cobb County Democracy Center, a nonpartisan organization committed to increasing civic literacy. I'm on the ground 365 whenever I can, and I just have 150,000 postcards delivered to my garage today just to remind people to get out the vote. I'm also a serious Cobb County voter, and I appreciate you all's service. When you work to educate voters, as I often do, especially in a volunteer capacity, you want to provide evidence-based, law-abiding processes to those who are voting in Cobb, many of them for the first time, some who have been disenfranchised with processes in the past. But our job is to get people motivated so that they can participate. As we are all taxpayers, we should participate in the voting process. So I want to thank you all I want to thank the board for ensuring that there are Sunday voting days, because creating opportunities for people to vote is important. However, as I'm educating voters, there is a concern about votes being challenged. When you don't know what's really going on, the last thing you need is a lot of confusion. And to date, I just want to, what I have been indicating is that I refer to the Georgia election law as it currently stands. There's less than 60 days left from the election, and we just want to make sure that our voters know that that the votes, as it stands, should be certified no less than 5 p.m. on Monday, November the 11th, following the election. Again, like I said, to mitigate voter confusion, it takes time and resources to contact all of these voters in Cobb County. So I appreciate, and I would respectfully request that you all comply with the Georgia Association of Voter Registration and Election Officials, that there'll be no additional regulations and changes that are so close to the November elections. And let me say this at the end. I appreciate the professionalism of the Cobb Election and Voter Services under the direction of Ms. Tate Falls, because I know this is not an easy job, as well as the work of poll workers. And it saddens me as a mom and as a citizen of Cobb County when we don't behave neighborly. Regardless to our political stance, we can disagree without being disrespectful. We all have an obligation to support the law, and I believe that utilizing evidence-based assertions to provide where we stand is the best method of all. I thank you all, and I pray God bless you all. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next up here in the room is Joanne Wood. Ms. Joanne Wood.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Joanne Wood, and I've been a resident of Cobb County for many decades. As a Georgia educator for 47 years, I always taught my fifth graders about the importance of voting to keep our democracy alive. I taught them about voter registration and the importance of educating themselves on the issues they care about, and I taught them about those who work to expand voting rights throughout our history. I'm glad I'm not teaching this year, so that I would have to teach them about a small but loud number of citizens who would seek to disrupt and sow doubt on our voting rights and privileges. These voter challenges and certification manipulations are entirely unnecessary. There has been no proven widespread fraud, and the process has worked with integrity for years. Today's challenges are intended to obstruct and rob people of their voices and their votes and destroy their trust in the process. Thank you to our board members for doing your duty and for applying the law. I hope that one day we will be able to vote without constant vigilance against partisan zealots who are hijacking the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Next up online is Debbie Nukowski. Miss Debbie Nukowski, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Nukowski.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the board for letting us all speak today. My concern about is, I'm here to express my concern about the state election board related to the election certification. Georgia's election laws are clear. The county shall tabulate and certify the election returns no later than 5 p.m. on Monday. This legal duty is mandatory and gives no leeway to refuse to certify the election returns. I worked as an absentee ballot at the Cobb County Election Board. I did not see anything that was out of the ordinary. Everybody was very professional on how they handled all of counting the ballots, the absentee ballots. And I want to encourage this election board to comply with the Georgia election law and fully do your duty to certify the election results this November. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nukowski. Next up here in the room is Kent Bias.
Bias is correct.
Okay, great. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
My football team won yesterday. I'm glad to be here. My name is Kent Bice. I'm a resident of Cobb County. I live in Powder Springs. And I want to thank the Cobb County Election Board for working tirelessly, along with their staff, on behalf of voters. All citizens are entitled to express their voices through their vote, and democracy falters when voting is suppressed. Thank you for your recent adoption of voter challenge policies. These challenges, brought by individuals with no personal knowledge of the individuals they are challenging, usually waste election board and staff time. Most of the challenge voters are already in inactive status, which implies that the election staff has been adequately maintaining the rolls. The policies and procedures adopted for managing voter challenges also ensure that only Cobb County voters can submit challenges. This will help to protect voter rights and deter outside organizations seeking to sow confusion, doubt, and distrust in the election process. Only a few voter challenges are permitted as we prepare for the general election, as we are within 90 days of a federal general election. The election board should reject most voter challenges until after the November election. The exception is for probable cause, as you're having a hearing later on. As we move forward to the general election, we must do everything to ensure that all eligible voters have access to the ballot box. I have two suggestions which I believe are being implemented. During early voting, and especially on election day, provide sufficient check-in stations. A shortage of check-in stations can cause a bottleneck of voters, contributing to long lines. The Board of Education, of Elections, should be prepared to handle any emergency that might occur at the polls. Poll worker training is underway to handle such events, and I will be attending training next week. The Board of Elections should have line management and mitigation strategies in place. Thank you again for adopting clear policies regarding voter challenges, and thank you for your sincere efforts to make our democracy function for all of the citizens of Cobb County.
Thank you, Mr. Bias. Next up online, Makia McQueen. Ms. McQueen, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Okay, go right ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon to the chair and to the board. I would like to begin by saying thank you to you all for the work you do in ensuring that our elections are free, fair, and accessible, even in the face of relentless scrutiny and unfounded accusations. As a resident of Cobb County and the representative-elect for Georgia House District 61, which includes parts of Smyrna and Vinings, I am here to emphasize the importance of maintaining the integrity of our democratic process. Cobb County, like much of Georgia, has seen an unprecedented level of scrutiny on its elections. While ensuring accuracy is critical, It is equally essential that we do not allow baseless claims of fraud to undermine the hard work and dedication of this board. This board's commitment to transparency and fairness is evident in the thorough work it has done to uphold the voting rights of all citizens in our county, regardless of party affiliation. The legitimacy of our electoral process must be upheld by facts, not by conspiracy theories or baseless claims. It has been troubling to witness repeated efforts to challenge legitimate voter registrations without merit under the guise of protecting election integrity. Yet, the integrity of our elections is threatened, not by the actions of this board, but by these attempts to undermine the voting process. These tactics not only disproportionately impact marginalized communities, they are intentionally designed to suppress the vote in ways that go against the very principles of democracy. If we take a beat just every now and again to make sure that in our actions we are placing country above party, we'll be reminded that we are all citizens of a constitutional and democratic republic. I urge all of us to put our faith in the election process and the tireless work of our local election officials. Securing voting rights isn't about partisan gain, or at least it shouldn't be. It's about ensuring that every eligible voter in Cobb County, whether they live in Mableton, Smyrna, or Marietta, has the opportunity to make their voice heard without unnecessary obstacles or intimidation. We must protect the rights of all citizens, not just a select few. Let's focus on moving forward together, ensuring that Cobb County remains a beacon of democratic participation and fairness. Thank you again to the board for your continued service and for ensuring that our elections remain secure, free, and just. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McQueen. Next up here in the BOC room is Ms. Rossman, Christine Rossman.
Good afternoon, Christine Rosman. I kind of feel like I've taken a crazy pill because a lot of people are saying, oh, there's so much confusion that is coming up. And the confusion, I agree, but the confusion happens to be the same thing that I've been saying. Who's my commissioner? Because people don't know. What district am I in? I don't know. Okay, this is freaking basic. We have a presidential election coming up, and people still don't know what district they're in, who their representative is. So if you want confusion, you are dealing it really, really well, because you know what? You're creating chaos in our county. And it's no, can I be on the screen? Are you not having people on the screen?
Pause her time. I made an announcement just a few moments ago that the screen is, or that the video was not working.
Oh.
Perhaps you all didn't hear it. I acknowledged the message that CP sent. So it's not you, Ms. Rossman. That statement was made.
It's Ross Cavett. I got it.
It's
Ross
not Ross
Cavett
Cavett.
is
That's just
really
what it
good
is.
at taking away our freedom of speech. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Ms. Rossman, and it was
I'm
already
sure
made
it'll still be out
reference
for
to.
Board of Commissioners tomorrow, too. So,
At any
yeah.
rate, you can go ahead and resume her time. Your time resumes now, Ms. Rossman.
Any rate, okay, so you have all these inactive voters, and you won't take them off the rolls. Okay, so I was thinking, like, once you get married, you don't have a whole bunch of guys that you were, dating before in the queue in your contacts and your phone. You kind of get rid of them, right? Or dead friends and family, you kind of get rid of those contacts. Yet we can't do that for our voter rolls. I mean, I don't even understand it. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not. You're either eligible to vote or you're not. So that causes confusion. Okay, I would like to talk about Thomas Sowell. Great quote. Some Americans will never appreciate America until after they have helped destroy it and have begun to suffer the consequences. Okay, that's where we are. Okay, another thing, you might be saying, oh, why is she bringing up Springfield, Ohio? okay? Springfield, Ohio, do you know what's happening there? They went from a population of 60,000 and had an influx of 20,000 illegal immigrants coming from Haiti to live there. Okay, so now they used to be 98% citizens. Now they're only 74% citizens. Are those people the ones that are going to be able to be eligible to vote? Okay, so what's happening there? Well, I'll tell you what's happening there. Chaos. Chaos is happening because there are different values in different countries. They like to eat the cats. They like to eat the dogs. And that's what they are doing in those counties. And that's the reason why we want real elections, to make sure that people don't end up voting that shouldn't be voting.
Your time has expired, Ms. Rossman. Thank you for your comments. Next up is Perrin, is it Chida?
Yeah, it's Perrin Cheda.
Thank you,
let me know when I'm
Mr.
ready.
Chada. You can go ahead and start now.
Hi, my name is Dr. Perrin Cheda. I am a palliative care physician here in Marietta. And I know that a lot of people have spoken, but I just want to address the previous speaker. The previous speaker mentioned that she feels crazy, and I agree. You sound crazy. What I would say is that when I'm dealing with sick people here in the hospital and making life and death decisions, I have to be confident that a person or a family making decisions meets some criteria. This is what I teach fellows, residents, and medical students, that someone has to be able to understand the information being presented, use that information in a meaningful context, appreciate the risk and benefits, and communicate a choice. And what I have found is that a lot of the people that, just like the previous speaker, who speaks so negatively and vitriolically about the board, are not sharing the same reality that we're all sharing. They don't share that Joe Biden won the 2020 election fairly. And if that is the case, they can be permitted to speak. It's a free country, but I would not hold their opinion with any weight whatsoever. And so I fully encourage all who are listening to ignore frankly, the stupidity of the other side, and let's just move forward with actual data, actual logic, actual information. And that has been done, and I appreciate the board. And so go ahead and let these people talk, but you can go ahead and ignore them, because I certainly am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chada. Next up is Elizabeth Griffin. Good afternoon, Ms. Griffin.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Griffith, and I'm a resident of Cobb County. I am a precinct worker, and most recently, I ran the provisional balloting station at my precinct in the presidential preference primary. I want to commend the Cobb County Registrar and staff for the quality and integrity of their work. In addition to training precinct workers on how to use the machines and set them up, the training we receive also includes the absolute necessity of leaving partisan politics outside and treating every voter with dignity and respect. It is paramount that we not allow poll watchers or other electors to engage in tactics that amount to voter intimidation. We already have a guardrail to ensure that only eligible citizens can vote without denying an eligible voter their legitimate right to vote. It's called provisional voting, and Cobb County runs it exceedingly well. In 2020, I volunteered as a poll watcher. I observed the ballot recount in several other jurisdictions as well as in Cobb County, and I can tell you that Cobb County's recount was above reproach. It was professional and transparent. But other than casting their ballots, most citizens haven't seen the electoral process in action by being a poll watcher or a precinct worker. They don't realize how secure our elections really are. This year, more than most, We must ensure that the citizenry trusts the legitimacy of the vote. This is no easy task, and we must beware that attempts to challenge voters and otherwise limit access to voting can create a false sense that there are problems in our electoral process and undermine the legitimacy of the election. We must maintain free, fair, and transparent elections and not give in to those who want to sow mistrust. We must tread very carefully so that we do not deny eligible voters the right to vote in the name of protecting elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffith. Next up online is Erica Bailey. Ms. Bailey, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Erica Bailey. Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Erica Bailey, and I'm a resident of Cobb County. My husband and I moved here from West Virginia and bought a home in Vinings in 2019. When we settled down, we became immediately aware that voter rights were being unfairly challenged. We decided we wanted to be part of the solution and dedicated ourselves to preserving the rights of voters in this community. We have served as deputy registrars and poll watchers. I have also participated as a ballot monitor. I actively recruit new folks to be poll workers, poll watchers, and ballot monitors. And during all of that, I have never seen anything from the Cobb Board of Elections staff other than professionalism and a true concern for getting the job done right. During that process, I've come to know several on this board personally. I've observed who you are through your statements and the issues you stand up for. I'm here today to thank the board for the majority opinions that have led to things like longer voting weekend hours, which allow voters greater access to the ballot, and the general dismissal of baseless voter challenges, which seek to inhibit voter access. I've participated in many of these meetings virtually now, not always speaking, and I know the type of verbal abuse and sheer baseless claims that you have to listen to. For that, I want to say I am truly sorry that that has become a part of your job. In fact, I want to go even further and say thank you for your integrity and for your boundless patience on behalf of a public that in most cases is not even aware of the work that you do, but no doubt benefits from the decisions you make. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Next up in the room is Ms. Lisa Decker. Good afternoon, Ms. Decker.
Hi, I'm Lisa Decker, and I'm a registered voter and resident of Cobb County. This is my first time attending a meeting here regarding voting matters. I'm here because I have deep concerns over the rising challenges to election protection and integrity coming from a small subset of extremists who are working behind the scenes to undermine the rights and abilities of others to vote. I wish to thank this board for standing up and doing what is right for all Cobb County citizens, regardless of their political party affiliation. Thank you for taking responsibility and ensuring voter access seriously, and for doing your duty and applying the laws that we already have in place to ensure free and fair elections. Thank you for expanding early voting opportunities so that more people get the opportunity to vote. I also wish to thank you for scheduling the November 8th pre-certification meeting and signaling to voters that this board will comply with state law. We know the laws. It's been repeated several times here, but I want to say that even at the state level, there's been call for new recent rules deemed reasonable inquiries, which have no definitions, guidelines, or guardrails, leaving them open to manipulation and exploitation in trying to circumvent election results. We already have election laws and processes in place to deal with discrepancies in vote totals, and those processes should be followed if deemed necessary. The right to vote is the crown jewel of American liberties, and we will not see its luster diminished. That is a quote from Ronald Reagan. Sadly, the luster has been diminished by big lies that have been told about stealing the election of 2020. This past week, Donald Trump publicly admitted twice that he lost the election by what he calls a whisker, which means the Stop the Steal operation was a big lie. But what is happening now behind the scenes, such as contesting voter rolls and presenting undefined reasonable inquiries which are intended to subvert the upcoming election, is the real deal of what could be a steal. You, as members of Cobb County's election board, have the ability and the duty to stop a real steal. My thanks once again to the members of this board who work tirelessly to make sure all voters matter and all votes get counted, and that you, as Cobb County election board members, have integrity and you stand as a shining example to the rest of Georgia and to the country. Thank you.
Next up online is Kay Joseph. Ms. Joseph, online, are you with us? No? Okay. We'll go to the next person online, Eileen Lichtenfeld.
Yes, this is Eileen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Eileen Lichtenfeld. I'm a resident of Cobb County since 2006 and voting in every election. I'm also a former poll watcher as well as an election worker. First off, I'd like to, thank the board, all of the board for serving. I know this is not an easy job, and I really appreciate your efforts, especially in this time of such heated partisan politics. I'm here to speak on the voter challenges policy, as well as my concerns on what we've all been talking about, the potential disruption of voter certification. In terms of the voter challenge, I want to thank you all for passing the recent policies. I was very concerned that a handful of activists, however well-meaning they might be, could have filed tens of thousands of challenges against lawfully registered voters, utilizing resources that have not been vetted and are not necessarily based in fact, or did they have personal knowledge of. Besides wasting precious time and resources, especially so close to the election, you've safeguarded that when there's no substantive evidence that there's been widespread misuse of the system. And in fact, everything shows that our current system works as intended. So thank you very much on that. But I'm primarily here because I'm extremely concerned about the state election board ruling related to election certification. Let's be clear. Georgia election laws, as we've said, say your job is to tabulate and certify. That does not mean that you're certifying that you personally can testify to the validity of every vote. We have other legal processes for that. You are just certifying that the counts for the system that is in place are what they say they are. Pursuing new rules now this close to the election, per the Georgia Association of Voter Registration and Election Officials, which I'm assuming most of you belong to, say that only places additional burdens on elections officials and can create additional voter confusion and mistrust as we face this significant election. Please agree with the Gavrio, I'm not exactly sure I'm saying that right, and reject any new regulations from the State Election Board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lichtenfeld. Next up is Todd Crowder.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman and members of the board. I'm Todd Crowder, a Cobb County resident. I am grateful for the voter challenge policies, which provide much needed clarity for the upcoming election. A small group could have filed many challenges against lawfully registered Georgia voters. These actions could bypass the voter protections in both Georgia and federal law. I fully support the efforts of the Cobb County Election Board to protect the integrity of our voter rolls and the rights of all registered voters. These baseless challenges would waste the valuable time of the board and its staff while creating unnecessary confusion and intimidation for voters about the right to vote. It's worth noting that the vast majority of voters being challenged are already marked as inactive, which tells me that the staff has been doing an excellent job maintaining the voter rolls. Thank you for your hard work, and for your continued dedication to protect the integrity of our elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Next up online is Patrick Umstead. No? Okay. Next
Hello?
up, Patrick Umstead. Then finally online, Melody Clark. Ms. Clark?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair and members of the board, I am Melody Clark, and I am with Follow the Law, a group of lawyers committed to ensuring elections are free, fair, and represent the true votes of all American citizens. We want you to know that we sincerely appreciate the immense effort, dedication, and resilience you bring to your role as an election official. Your commitment to upholding the integrity of our elections is crucial in ensuring they follow the law, provide transparency, and are 100% accurate. In these challenging times, it's more important than ever for voters to have confidence in the electoral process. Upholding the law and maintaining transparency protects the integrity of each vote and reinforces public trust in our election process. Your selection for your role reflects the confidence others have in your unique ability to meet its demands with integrity and dedication. Your job is far more than ministerial. It requires critical thinking, a deep understanding of the law, and careful attention to detail to ensure that every election result is accurate and impartial. You've taken an oath to prevent fraud, deceit, or abuse and ensure that each election is conducted with utmost accuracy. It's clear that this responsibility is not just a routine task, but a commitment to maintaining the highest standards. While some are incorrectly suggesting that your role is just ministerial or a rubber stamp, we know better, and we want you to know that we stand with you against such insulting and shameful suggestions as you apply your mind and efforts to ensure the highest quality election process you can. I wanted to let you know our website is designed with an easy-to-reference resource to help you stay informed and assure compliance with the most current election regulations here in Georgia. We even have a special section for all of the new rules that have been recently adopted at followthelaw2024.com. We are committed to supporting election officials like you in your essential work. Your role is crucial in maintaining the integrity of our elections, and we stand with you in this vital mission. Our goal is to foster trust, transparency, and accuracy in every step of the election process. Thank you for all of the work you and your team do to uphold these high standards and ensure that every step of the election process is transparent and accurately reflects the will of the voters. I've emailed you a copy of my comments for inclusion in the minutes of this meeting. Thank you again, and God bless you and yours.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. The remaining speakers will be here in the room. Next up is Mr. Norris, Hugh Norris.
Good afternoon, Board. After multiple demands from Cobb citizens, this board finally required the Pledge of Allegiance to be recited at the start of each board meeting. It happened a little earlier this year. And to remind the board, the pledge is both for the flag and the republic for which the flag stands for. Now, it's widely understood that a substantial number of citizens have lost trust in our election systems across the country, including here in Cobb County. We, the people, don't understand why elected and appointed officials aren't taking adequate measures to correct noted deficiencies and hold accountable the corrupt officials. Indeed, there appears to be an action by this board to stop the improvement of the election processes as recently passed by the State Board of Elections. This brings me back to the pledge that we talked about earlier and was recited. This is not a conspiracy theory. We all saw one of the board members remained planted in her seat and didn't say the pledge. What am I to think? Could this person be a closeted communist or Marxist?
Sir.
Could this person be intent on subterfuge or worse? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I have previously attempted to have that board member explain herself, but I was shut down by the chair of this board. Certainly, a private citizen owes me no explanation. But this member is officially involved in the management of our sacred voting systems. She owes the citizens of Cobb County an explanation. Until she explains herself, she must recuse herself on all votes. She also needs to be replaced on this board so the board can have a full complement of qualified members. And demonstrated loyalty is a qualification. Her continued presence on this board without demonstrating loyalty to this county, state, and nation also implicates this board's chair, as well as the chair of the Cobb County Board of Commissioners, who made the appointment of this member under discussion. Thank you.
He did say that. I'm sorry. We're going to stop this proceeding. That is extremely unacceptable, and I believe I saw who said it. And so at this point,
I see smiles about it. That's
right,
but how
Daniel. Daniel.
Yeah.
That's how.
It's completely out of order.
So let me just say in general, you know, the board is, at least today, and in the last few meetings, has tried to let people say what they think. And I would encourage people, if you want to say things from the stand, say what you want to say. Your comments are going to be, they're going to expose what people know about you after you say it. So they'll kind of speak for themselves. I need the crowd not to respond during comment, because we need to let people say, and if they want to put whatever ignorance on the record, they can put it on the record. And it'll be on the record, and we don't need people interrupting in support or against it. So let's just be clear about that. If people want to get up and insult and be derogatory, that's one thing. But what cannot happen is this meeting cannot be interrupted. It cannot stop and cannot disturb the meeting. You're allowed to get up and make ugly comments if you want. If that's how you want to be perceived by the public, you can do it. But we're not going to have comments that affect the orderly flow of the meeting. And so while we're not going to censor what you say, if you disrupt the meeting by making comments that cause reactions or just hateful, we're going to stop the meeting and we're going to calm it down, and we're going to let people just have a chance to, take a pause, don't make it personal, let people say what they want, and we'll move forward from there.
Just give me a minute. I understand, but usage. Yeah, put your mic on, please. Sorry.
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, not acceptable. I won't continue to sit in my seat if that person remains in the room.
Okay, so.
I also concur.
Right.
I mean, that's just not.
It's not a matter of what cannot happen. It is a matter of what will not happen. And so unless someone can point to the law that forces this board to withstand anti-Semitism, then we can just stop this meeting. We absolutely can, and unless, Daniel, there is a reason to continue it.
And that's sort of where I was going with that.
I'm going to be a little bit more definitive than you.
Okay, anti-Semitic comments do disrupt the meeting. Obviously, they cause it an entire halt.
It's hate speech.
Yeah, hate speech from whatever perspective. And so we're not going to allow, we would ask whoever made the anti-Semitic, the Hitler comment, if you would remove yourself at this point. I'm going to give you that.
I mean, if you're proud enough to say it, go ahead and walk out now. So you're going to hide behind the statement.
We will not allow this person to stay in the room. We cannot allow hate speech in here. It is unacceptable. We can all disagree with each other's political views. We cannot allow hate speech.
So you will say it, but you won't remove yourself from the room. If you're proud enough to say it out loud, stand behind your whatever you said and remove yourself from the room now, please.
I know I didn't sign up. Can I say something?
No, ma'am, I apologize, you cannot.
No.
Ma'am, I apologize, there is no opportunity for public comment at this time. I know it was on this side of the room. I do know it was on this side of the room. I don't believe it was Mr. Norris. I believe it's 1 or 2 rows behind Mr. Norris. We can stay here all night. I would ask that you remove yourself from this boardroom. Dr. McMorris, it's right around in that area. That's where I heard it from. On the left hand, on my left, your right. We can stay here all night. I don't care. We're not going to continue this meeting with you in this room. No, I don't believe so. I don't believe he was mocking you.
It doesn't even matter.
It
Just
doesn't
that
matter.
The phrase is not allowed. It is hate speech, and we will not tolerate it. It doesn't matter who it's directed to.
Kids are expelled from school for doing it. It is not acceptable, no matter who said it. I don't care who it was in response to. It's not lost on me that just up the street was the only Jewish man lynched in this country. There will be no Heil Hitler in this room. So if you don't want to stand up and admit that you are an anti-Semite and walk out that door, I will continue to sit here and we will all sit here in silence. Anti-Semitism in whatever form and whoever says it is inappropriate in today's world, period.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would ask that the board not address the crowd. That's always been a standing rule. I believe that's your duty, and I just think we're maybe adding a little fuel to a fire, and so
Unfortunately,
that should have
the
never
gentleman
been
that made
started.
That statement
I
added fuel to the
realize
fire. That is why we are where we are, and we will not continue.
I realize that, but I don't think the board should be engaging with the audience,
You know,
other than the chair.
I will say, unfortunately, we are in uncharted territory with that type of hate speech being hurled at this board. It does not matter.
Dr. McMorris is saying something.
Okay, we can adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? The motion has been made and properly seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor? Any opposition?
I'm abstaining.
I note Ms. Fisher's abstention. The motion passes with a 4-person vote, noting 1 abstention. The meeting is adjourned.